Alrighty, so wherever you are all, we're going to start to bring some movement to the body, and we're going to slowly meet at the top of the mat if you're not there already, holding a Tadasana pose. So take your time getting there. We're going to be here for about 10 breaths. Feet are about hips width, forearms, palms facing forward, and then closing the eyes when you do get here. Okay, our focus in this session is going to be a lot of forward folds. So we're getting into that back today. For those of you that are in position, tip of the tongue at the palates of the mouth, finding an ujjayi breath in and out of the nose, a little bit of constriction at the back of the throat. Micro bend the knees and soften those toes, trying to equally distribute the weight from the pad of the feet to the heel. From here, slowly just release those arms so the forearms and palms are now toward the trunk of the body. You can keep the eyes closed, but you're going to take the chin down toward the chest and then roll down the spine vertebrae by vertebrae. Go slower, there's no rush. Take a bend to the knees and breathe in between. Try not to hold your breath. We're going to go through the spinal roll another time just because it being our first one, it's quite common for people to rush. So when you touch down, slowly start to roll back up the spine. Now, if you get to a position of stance within 3 to 5 seconds, you're going way too fast. Okay, you're not going to get a gold medal or a star or anything for finishing. Chin to the chest, you're rolling back down. The whole purpose of practicing yoga is really connecting your breath to the body movements. Okay, you're going to do the final spinal roll up. The slower you go, the more you start to actually feel the strength necessary in the legs to come in and out of the movement. Final time, chin to the chest, roll back down. This time when you get into that forward fold, you're hanging out here, okay? Take a deeper bend into the knees than you're used to, and just make sure those feet are about hips width so you can support the weight of your body in space. Crown of the head parallel to the mat. You can come into any variation of your forward fold, whether that's just keeping the arms hanging forward, holding on to opposite elbows, standing on your palms, or even interlacing the fingers behind the back, and then reaching the arms up. So we're here for about 30 more seconds. While you're here, you're just scanning your body, just paying attention to what's coming up today, and then just allowing your body to hang forward. Good. Perching up onto the fingertips, inhale a flat spine, and then bend your knees, coming onto the knees for a moment, and then tucking your toes under. Sitting up on perched toes, making sure the pinky toe is engaged, tucked under as well. Roll the shoulder blades back, And then just hold here for a few breaths. If you don't feel anything and you're like, Angelica, this is quite easy, walk the kneecaps forward by a couple of steps. For those of you in this posture and you're finding it really difficult, obviously, naturally your body will start to hinge forward just to relieve the pressure so the full body weight isn't on your toes. I mean, you've got those props there in reaching distance if you need. Okay, for about 10 more seconds only, you're just continuing to hang out here, just working on the fascial stretch at the bottom of the feet. And surprise, surprise, we're going to reverse our toes. Plant the palms, curl the toes under, so you're literally sitting on the knuckles of your feet. This one might feel a little bit more so just be easy. Okay, we're not here as long, but you've got 10 seconds. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. Try to keep those shoulders down and back. You're still maintaining proper form and posture. Let's take one more breath. Nice work. Releasing those palms down. Take a moment to circle out through the ankles, one direction. And then switch. You're going to plant those palms down, forearms, palms facing the top of the mat. Tuck those toes if you choose as you lean the upper body back. You don't have to tuck the toes. You could keep the toes untucked and then just reach the hips back. And just work on opening up through the front lining of the forearms. Your head can remain neutral, or getting back in through now the upper spine. Really allow the chin to come to the chest for a few breaths. Slowly start to rock the body weight forward. Release the palms, cross at the ankles, coming to your sit bones. And we're going to come back into more of a passive session today. You're extending that right leg toward the top right corner of your mat, so it's at an angle a little bit, opened up a little bit wider through the hip. And then you're just taking that left foot toward the inner thigh. Walk the flesh and the muscle back. Inhale a flat spine. Start by just coming straight forward. Perhaps the elbows touch the mat. You're holding here for a few breaths, and then we're going to come back into the rounding. So anytime we come down into a flat back, you're getting more into the stretch at the back of the legs. When we start to round out through the spine, you'll feel it. You're going to get more into the flexibility of the cord. So we're working on a little bit of spinal strength here as well to keep that body maintaining its form. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to walk the upper body toward the right leg. Arms are on either side of the leg. And then you're going to take the chin to the chest and allow your spine to roll forward like we did in the beginning of class. 30 seconds. Head comes up last with helping hands. You're bringing yourself into an upright position. Bend the right knee. Take a moment here to just allow that circulation to bounce back. Extend that right leg again, and if it's there, plant the left palm behind you. Lift up through the hips so the left shin becomes a kickstand and the right leg is nice, long, and straight. And then slowly touch down, release, plant the palms behind you, step the feet mats width, and just windshield the knees from side to side. And we're just going to switch. So reach that left leg toward the top of the mat, more at an angle. Pull that right foot toward the inner thigh. Walk the flesh and the muscle back. Inhale, flat back, hinging from the hips. And you're keeping a flat spine for the first few breaths. Eyes are looking more so toward the mat, so you're not cocking at the neck. And try to keep those shoulder scapula down. And slowly start to walk the arms over toward that left leg, so the arms are on either side. And for those 30 seconds again, chin to the chest, you're rounding forward and you're just hanging forward. Final 2 breaths. Roll up your spine vertebrae by vertebrae. Bend that left knee momentarily to release the pressure, and then extend that leg again. If you did it from the other side, you're doing it here. Plant the right palm behind you so it's right underneath the shoulder blade, supporting the weight and structure of the body as the hips lift up. Right shin acts as a kickstand, and you're just getting that frontal stretch. One more breath before you tap down. Plant the palms behind you. Windshield the knees from side to side. And then slowly start to lower down onto the back from here. Okay, we're just going to come into a bridge pose to close. So when you do come to lie down on the back, reach those fingertips toward the heels. Feet are at hips width. Find that length in through the cervical spine, and then slowly start to tuck the tailbone under. Vertebrae by vertebrae, start to reach the hips up toward the ceiling. Squeeze your glutes at the highest point and shift the weight toward the backs of your shoulders. Try to alleviate too much pressure on the neck. You're keeping it on your 2 shoulders and the back of the head. Naturally, your breath will become constricted. Be mindful that the knees aren't splailing out. You're keeping them more at hips width, and you're squeezing the lower glute line. Taking 3 more breaths as you continue to press the palms down in forearms to help lift the weight of the hips a little bit higher to the ceiling. Slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, allow the hips to fall. You can either take the knees together or soles of the feet coming together in that reclined butterfly, knees opened up to the side. Palms can be wherever they feel comfortable. Closing the eyes, we're coming into 2 more sets. Just take about 2 more breaths first. Good. Second set. Feet are at hips width. Tuck the tailbone, pull the lower belly in and back toward your spine, and then lift up the hips. Keeping the knees at hips width, keep grounding your palms down. Now, option 1, you could stay here and continue to practice on the alignment, on holding the pose and breathing through whatever it is that comes up. Option 2 is interlacing the fingers behind the back. Walk the shoulders, arms, palms closer together. So it's kind of like you're perching your chest up. Chin stays closer toward the chest, but it doesn't touch. And then you're squeezing the hips and lifting them up, engaging through that core to lengthen through your lower back. Knees remain at hips width. You're here for 3 breaths. Keep squeezing, keep lifting. You're working for it. Slowly start to release the arms. Allow those hips to roll and touch down to the floor. And then you're either coming into one of those two poses just for a rest, a reset. Preparing for your final round in 2 breaths. Good. Final set. Bring those knees about hips width. Feet are at hips width. Option 1. Tuck the tailbone, lift the hips. Keep pressing the forearms and palms to the mat. Option 2. Fingers interlace behind the back, lifting the hips as high as they can go. Or option 3, if it's there, only if you're comfortable doing this on your own without me being there, but I'm there in spirit, planting the palms just behind the shoulders so the fingers are pointing the direction of the toes. And then you're taking slow steps, pressing the weight of the palms into the mat to try to lift up. So you take maybe the crown of the head to touch the mat first, before you then lift and come into a full wheel pose. Keep squeezing the hips, the glutes, lifting the weight to the body up in space, and then just holding here for about 3 more breaths. Any kind of back bends are quite invigorating, so we're just kind of coming more into a counter pose from the work that we've done today. Chin toward the chest as you bring the head back down, and then vertebrae by vertebrae you touch down to release. Same counter stretch. Either knees TP together or allow those knees to open to the sides, and just take a moment, take a breath. Whether this is the end of your practice or just the beginning, if there's any final movements in this segment that you want to explore, you've got that time now. Perhaps if you need a little bit of water or anything, feel free to grab some. For those of you that are preparing for your Shavasana, reaching for any kind of items you may need. For those that are coming into your add-on, maybe coming into a child's pose for a few breaths to wait.